is overrated. Cause it's something anyone could be. Oh, now attraction, now there's something different. Thankfully you're both to me. Cause I've learned this life, you've gotta be with someone you like. You think that we've got what it takes to go the distance, I can tell you now. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh.
Let us scribble haikus in the dew until dawn. Let us twist our locked words leisurely till they're strong. Let's converse with the stars while we lay in the lawn. Let us sharpen each other's intellectual brawn. Let us bond. Yeah. Let us bond. Yeah. Let us bond. Let us. Let's feel Braille in the wind and the rain with blinds drawn. Let's consider the seahorse and all it's undergone. Let us yawn and move on and cause ruckus in ponds. Let's create and combine brand new words with old songs. Let's belong. Let's belong. Let's belong.
Here's where I be.
Woo! Welcome to Fancy Friday, where we are. That was amazing. That was amazing, Donnie. You and Brittany did that. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for setting the tone for our February show of Fancy Friday, where we're calling it Love Matters. And we are here tonight. As y'all know, we started Fancy Friday in response to the pandemic to give people encouragement to get a little fancy in whatever their style is, to feel good and have something to look forward to promote mental health and mental wellness. And so we are excited for February's show today and the wonderful panel of guests that we have with us. But before we present them, I want to introduce y'all to our co-host, Mr. Charles Whitby.
Greetings, everyone. Happy Black History Month. Happy Black Lives Matter. Happy 2021.
So happy to see you. I don't think I've seen you in 2021.
I don't think so either.
It's been a long time. Good to see your face.
Good to be
We have Miss Trina Marie Shaw, who is the brand ambassador for Solutions of Change.
Hey everyone, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. I love February. It's a month of love, not always that you have to be with someone, but you just love yourself.
I mean, I'm feeling real like loving and lovable, like that vibe that we got from those songs have me in a groove. And of course, that was done by none other than Mr. Donnie Lee, DL Music, who is our licensed music therapist who joins us for most of our Fancy Fridays because we're intentional about this mental health matters, right? And in the spirit of love mattering, we have two amazing couples here with us tonight. The first one that I'm going to introduce to you is our Attorney General, Aaron D. Ford.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having us on.
And his beautiful wife, Mrs. Berna Rhodes Ford. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
We're so happy to have y'all here tonight.
Got fancy now. We got the dignitaries. So.
Hey, man, ain't nothing dignified over here. I'm just saying.
You got to be on
We
your
done
best
stepped up a
behavior
little
tonight.
Right.
And you know what's so awesome about February being, of course, we celebrate Valentine's, and this is our Valentine's special, but you two have just celebrated 25 years of marriage.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes, we're
yeah.
very excited about that.
Exactly. Nothing like a silver anniversary. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Love it.
How
love
did y'all celebrate?
My wife did a fantastic job of laying out a fabulous dinner because we couldn't go out. We celebrated it on January 1st, and it was a fantastic dinner at the house. Pictures of all of our last 25 years together gathered around the dining room. She just went all out on it, and it was the best anniversary dinner that we've ever had.
But the week before, we had a 25-year anniversary photo shoot with Miss Trina Marie.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Trina Marie just has
love
all
you
the
guys.
talents.
I am multi-talented for sure. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but I'm appreciate it all. But that's when I loved you guys before. But let me tell you, during that photo shoot, like I really fell in love with you guys as a couple because I know you guys are both powerhouses, and I know how that can be a struggle. But you guys, 25 years, which is kind of like uncommon these days. I'm like, hello.
Yeah, I think you're right. 25 years is uncommon. I remember early on in our marriage, you would always hear about how 50% of all marriages end in divorce. And that's accurate. I think it may have gone up since then, but we made it to 25 and I'm looking for 25 more.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to you.
I'm looking forward too for y'all to be couple goals.
Those next set of pictures of Trina Marie, we may be in using walkers and stuff.
Hey, that's okay. As long as y'all using the walkers together.
That's right.
That's right.
And you know what? We have you as a wonderful example of how to make it to 25 years, and you're going to tell us a little bit more about your love story. But we have a couple of amazing coaches with us to give us some tips and tools later on in the show on how to keep a marriage healthy so that you can make it to that 25 years. Welcome, LaDonna and Michael Harris of Married and Powerful.
Hi.
Hello.
What's up, Reverend?
Looking lovely.
I'm just keeping hope alive.
They go to Reverend.
Yes.
How are you?
We haven't made to 25 yet, but definitely plan on it. 25, that is
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Yes. that's
Love
awesome.
that. Love
Yeah.
that.
How many are you two at now?
We are married for 5 years,
Yeah.
but actually we met 24 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
How long
Yeah.
you been together?
6 years.
6 years. Wow.
So
Yeah.
what year afterwards? So we gonna talk
Time
about that.
flies.
1 year afterwards, y'all said I do. I love it.
Yeah. Well, actually,
Time
if it was Michael's way, it would have, because he actually proposed of the first week we started dating.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
we gotta hear that story.
I can't wait to hear that story.
Well, that's an interesting story.
When you know, huh?
Yes, right. When
Yes.
you know, you know. You don't need to wait around. You're just wasting time after that.
Hello.
I can't wait for that. Well, listen, as y'all can tell, we have a wonderful show ready for you guys. We're going to get this show started off with a little bit of game. Are the couples ready?
Ready.
Down for it?
Ready.
We think it's fun. We're really excited. It's the first time we've ever had two couples on the show. So this is going to be a little bit of fun. And I'm just going to ask a couple of questions. Me and Trina Marie are going to ask you guys 5 questions. And in each question, we just want you to point to which one of the, which person in your couple it applies to, okay?
All
Really?
right.
So, we're going to start off light and fun.
Yeah.
And the first question is, who's the funniest?
You.
No, you are. You know you are.
But see, that's the secret to a happy marriage right there. I gave her the credit. She gave it back to me. So I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's me.
So is it
Hey,
really?
that's how y'all get from 5 to 25. Just
I like
learn that, Michael. Learn it right now. Just point, give her the credit, and then.
Okay.
Well, but I mean, I was pointing at her and then I realized that actually it is me.
And I don't mind. 'cause he
Yes.
is. He is the coaster.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so it's really you, Michael. So between the fours, which one is it really?
Aaron.
Probably me.
Oh, okay.
Probably. You know
Okay,
it's you.
me.
Okay.
So we got funny men.
Right.
Right.
I'm
Yes.
gonna interject real quick and ask this one quick question. So would you say Michael and Aaron that your women are alpha females or more beta females? And let me know if you need me to explain the difference between both.
Well, why don't you explain it so I can answer it like
Okay,
truthfully?
so alpha female.
That's a wise man right there.
I understand. 25 years, man. 25
years. Get you there. So short story, alpha female, they're more controlling. Some people can say, but they got their stuff together and they're gonna elevate you because they have high expectations of themselves. So they have high expectations of those around them. Beta female can sometimes be the same in some ways, but then they could be I don't want to say the word passive, but sometimes when it's time to speak up, they won't speak up.
So give some examples of
Alpha,
who.
beta too, but I'm just trying to separate like alpha and then beta. I kind of think I have you guys both pinpointed, but I'm not 100% sure. So I kind of want to hear what y'all think.
So I'm gonna add gamma to the mix because I think I think an alpha and a beta combination is what I'm next to, because it's kind of situational. It's kind of dependent. One of the things that my wife took from her father is if you don't talk about it if you don't know about it, right? And so at the end of the day, if it's an issue she doesn't know anything about, it could be a beta opportunity for being passive and or being led, so to speak. But if it's something that she knows was right, she knows what's going on, my position is this, yours is wrong, or whatever the case may be, then it can be an alpha. And so, that's why I say it's probably a gamma going on right here.
Okay, so she's probably, so it sounds like you're saying she's more alpha beta. So she's kind of the both, right?
Sure, okay.
Why?
Situationally, I
Yeah.
guess.
Can I ask you this, General, for knowing that if she knows something, that's when she's more likely to speak up. Does that make you more likely and willing to listen to her? Because you're like, if she's talking about it, she's probably pretty.
So you didn't ask about my alpha or beta male. But I'll answer that for you. I'm an alpha male. But that said, I try to be a reasonable alpha male. And by the way, it's 25 years. Year 25 ain't the same as year 1. Let's be clear about that, right? We have evolved such that if she needs to be alpha and I need to be a zeta, I could get up out the way. You understand? That's part of the survival tactic as well.
Okay.
I love it. What about you two, LaDonna and Michael?
I would say I'm the alpha. I mean, I'm the alpha male.
Absolutely.
But I am. Well, I would say I can't say you're the alpha female. And what I mean by that is there are things that I don't know. And so when I don't know it and I refer to my wife, then she knows, she takes the lead.
Hello.
And I don't mind her taking the lead because of our level of trust. And she doesn't mind, and so I know my role and my wife knows her role. And so then we go together. I like that biblical perspective of side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And so that side by side is the understanding of trust, and it's the understanding of being nurtured. And so my wife nurtures me to trust her decisions and to believe in what she is doing is correct. And I have no problem just saying, okay, baby.
That's how we're going to make it to 25 years.
That's right.
I was just like, for the people out there listening, y'all see, not just hear, but see what it looks like to make it to 25 years and to have a happy and successful relationship, because y'all both you answered it well. Okay, we got a few more questions. We're just going to ask y'all then without any explanation, because we got some more that we want to get to each of you individually with. But just to get a little bit more about y'all personality. Who dances the best?
Definitely.
That would be me.
Y'all both got that right easily then.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the disciplinarian in the family towards children?
Mm, mm, mm.
We're not going to get into it. Not true.
Well, we got to get into it just a little bit. So just a little bit, the Fords.
Well, I mean, it's
I don't even know what he's talking about. He's the disciplinarian. He sent my baby boy in to me to get on 21 time.
really.
Go in there so your mama can.
But I had already done my duty.
You hadn't done anything.
Okay.
You guys rotate?
So look, I think I'm strict on my boys. I mean, we've raised 3 sons and a nephew, and I guess that's my definition of disciplinarian, where I try to ensure that they are following, the right rules on how to interact with women, on how to interact with themselves, how to represent themselves. This name, us as Black folks. I mean, at the end of the day, those conversations I consider part of the discipline. And if they step out of line, I do get on them. I mean, for example, my youngest boy, I've never spanked him. Never had to. I've never had to spank my 15-year-old son. But the point is, I've never had to, right? Because the conversations that we have are serious enough from a discipline perspective to where that's all it takes. And so that's how I kind of consider myself a disciplinarian in that regard.
I would say that I'm definitely the disciplinarian. I don't know. I try to meet the expectation of what it is required for our children to be strong, to be steadfast, to be chaste, to have an understanding, and to be able to be diverse in all those areas. And so I agree with the conversation and to be able to talk to them. But sometimes when it's a little stubborn and a little hard head going on, then you got to apply some pressure.
I will say, as a blended family, prior to us getting married, I was a single mom. So yes, as a single mom, I was very disciplinary towards my children. And that's something that Michael noticed. But then as we joined together as a union, I was able to step back a little bit.
Because that mother's love as now a union becomes a little lax. Because, I mean, because I call her and I joke with her and I say, you're soft.
I am now.
You're soft.
I can be.
But yes, you can be. Yes. And so yeah, definitely we work on each other. Well, we bounce off each other, but when it comes to, I guess, putting the hammer down, then it's me.
I want to ask you, LaDonna, was it difficult to shift into allowing him to be the disciplinarian of your children? Because I know for many single mothers, sometimes it's a challenge to make that shift when you get a strong alpha man.
It was a shift at first, well, because Michael didn't meet my children, I want to say maybe 8 months while we were dating. It was a while. It was several months before I allowed him to meet them. And then in doing so, like I watched how he was with his children, spoke to them. And so I was able to trust his judgment. And he came in soft. He didn't just come in and putting the hammer down immediately. He came in soft, just trying to feel his way around. And then I was able to say, okay, I trust you with my children. You're good.
I keep hearing that trust word be thrown around. So y'all listening out there, take notes. Okay, last question really quick. Who is the most sensitive?
Absolutely.
Donna and Michael are still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I was. I mean, depending on the topic.
Yes.
But I would venture to say it would be LaDonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say it too.
Okay. What about you, the Fords? Y'all still pointing towards each other again?
No,
It's me.
It was you. Oh, okay. I missed
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's sensitive.
I just want to know, like, how does that show up for him? What does his sensitivity look like?
Oh, shit,
I mean, you can answer first.
I don't know. How does it show up for me? I don't know.
Well, just things that I take for granted. He wants attention and he needs certain things, and I'm like, I'm over it. I don't want to do that. but it's a love language thing, actually.
Right.
Mhm.
So So over time, I used to hate his love languages because I was like, you don't need this. You should know this. But then we took a love languages class at church, and I realized it's not about whether he needs it. It's just his love language, and so you just have to give it to him. So
Absolutely.
yeah, he's sensitive about just all kinds of stuff, and he gets goosebumps, as he said.
I do. I get them a lot. Yeah, I get goosebumps, good and bad ones, and yeah.
Mostly good is when you like. So
It's for me, I think the sensitivity, I would wrap it, I would use a different word for it. I perceive disrespect probably where it's not present, easily disrespected, right? And so that can translate to sensitivity at a point to where if I think I'm being disrespected, I'm going to make it known. So, you know, and that comes from just my background, where I'm from. You disrespect, we're gonna talk, or we ain't gonna do anything beyond talk.
That's
but,
good enough. They get it.
But you get
For sharing that, because were you always that in tune then? I guess you said it comes from your background. So were you always that in tune with your sensitive side or your feelings and vocal about it?
I'm not sure I thought about, oh, you mean in our marriage over the course
No, just
of generally speaking.
life and marriage, yeah.
I'm not sure I thought about it before I was married, right? This takes some introspection. This takes some, you know, some true self-reflection on where your fallacies may be, where your deficiencies may be, where your vulnerabilities may be. And I'm not certain that I thought about it growing up. I just knew that my environment mandated that if you feel disrespected, you better speak up and you better handle it, or else you're gonna get run over. So again, that could translate to a sensitivity at some level that can be problematic. So it took me a little time to figure out who I was in that arena so that I can be able to respond accordingly.
Okay. Now shifting more towards your relationship. Well, were you gonna say something, Marie? I'm sorry.
Only thing I was gonna say was I had you burn a pinpointed as an alpha. You know, it's all good. I want to. I think alpha females are amazing. I think we are all amazing, to be honest with you. But it's funny that you said that about the sensitivity, because alpha female, that's the one thing that we don't have a whole lot of is emotions. And so when we're dating a man, you know, we have high expectations of ourselves. So we have high expectations of those around, especially our man. The one thing that our man is going to do is they're going to elevate being with us. But I've also learned too, like, okay, calm down and adapt some of that beta qualities, which is there's a lot of similarities between alpha and beta, but beta women are a lot of times they won't say anything because they don't want the tension. So I've learned to, like, you know what, I'm not going to say anything, or I might make a little comment and then give you time to get on my page. Because like, I've learned patience. I've learned patience. Like, hey, I just give you time to get there because he's alpha male too. And alpha females, just so y'all know. So it's funny that y'all both with alpha men. Alpha women love alpha men. They love it because they're so ambitious. They're so like, they're be about their business. But y'all are good because y'all know how to come home and relax. And we're like, okay, on to the next.
And I think that's often a challenge, right, for alpha women. But you guys kind of answered how you've been able to make that work by sharing that, you know, the women have learned, whether it was always there or have learned in the marriage, like only to speak when it's their turn and you know to play their role at the appropriate time. And I think sometimes us younger alpha women have a hard time doing it. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself or what I've been told.
Had a hard time with what you said.
I think also too. I'm sorry.
Ooh. Just kind of referring to what General Ford said about you only speak rather on what you know. That's more what I meant. Being wise. Being wise. Thank you for the correction.
I was going to say that also too. It's that word, here it comes. It's a trust factor, because being in a relationship, you have to be able to communicate to feel comfortable enough to authenticate what it is you're feeling and what you want to say. If you're not comfortable in the relationship to be able to have that freedom of expression, then now there's some type of control or manipulation going on. And so it has to be established in the understanding where you have that word reciprocation, and that the dialogue that you reciprocate It's for both of you for your relationship. It's not for one of you in the relationship.
Mhm. Speaking truth. Thank you for that. So now I just want to shift a little bit and talk more about your relationship, General Ford, Mrs. Rhodes Ford. How did you know, General Ford, that Berna was the one?
You know, it's an interesting story because the first night we met, I felt it, I knew it, and I had to put it to the test. And Berna laughs about this because it's true. I mean, I had these little tests here and there. So you know
that I didn't know.
No, she didn't.
Trust me, had I known, we wouldn't be sitting here
That's
right
what
now.
she says, but we already know that she went home and told her mama.
Wait.
Yeah,
They
okay,
didn't
all
ask
right,
nothing about
okay,
me. They
all
asked
right.
about you.
Okay, so LaDonna and Michael talked about their relationship moving kind of quickly, and also LaDonna and Michael having a blended family. So I had a child when I met my wife. My son was only 1.5 years old at the time, and I was a single parent, and I wasn't afraid of it. I wasn't ashamed of it. It was what it was, and I was kind of like LaDonna at one level that if you ain't worth it, I'm not bringing you around my son. But with my wife, I mean, with Berna, I was like, she might be worth it. So I'm gonna test this right now. So I took her to the house eventually, like what, a day later, 2 days later, introduced her to my son who was laying in his crib, who stood up at the crib like, yeah, Daddy, you got the right one. You know, he responded real quickly to that. But the evening I met her, I pulled out my wallet just to test it, right? Because I didn't know. I mean, a lot of women don't want to deal with men who got babies and babies' mamas and this, that, and the other, right? So I pulled out my wallet. We had a whole bunch of pictures of my son in it and rolled them out to see how she was going to respond to that. And my visual response from her was, okay, she didn't run, so let's continue the conversation. So I invited her to dinner, and at dinner that next night, I was able to ask her a whole bunch of 20 questions, just point blank. Like, I ain't got time to play around. I got a son. I ain't bringing a whole bunch of women around him. I need to know what you think about this, what you think about that. How about on this issue? How about on that issue? And you know, it would have scared a lot of people off, which is about
99.9%,
which is exactly the point.
Run away from him.
Which is exactly the point. If you ran away, you weren't supposed to be with me anyway.
And so what age range? You haven't said the exact age, but what age range were you guys about then?
Early 20s.
Yeah, 22, 23, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what it was. And so when I put her to the test, so to speak, and got these very sincere, caring answers around it, my son responded in the way he did. I mean, I knew at that point, I knew, and could have asked her to marry me within a week too, Michael.
So then I just got to toss that back to you, Berna, because he's saying he knew very quickly. Was it the same for you?
Well, I have to admit, so so we met on a Friday, went out on a Saturday, and so at that dinner we talked about hopes, dreams, all kinds of stuff. Like I said, 99% of women would have been like, I am out of here. This dude is too serious. But after that dinner, I called my mother and told her I met the man I was gonna marry.
Oh.
And she was like, "Are you crazy? What are you talking about?" and I told her, I said, I have met enough Mr. Wrongs to know Mr. Right when I find him. Yeah. So here we are, 25 years later.
My mama says, I don't remember it going down like this. My mama tells me I came home the night I met Berna and told my mama that I knew I was gonna marry her. I don't remember it that way, but the next day I knew it. The next day I knew it. The next day, it wasn't the first day, it was the second night. I remember that.
Obviously, you two are like full of love. You can see how much you admire and respect each other. But I just gotta ask, and I think it's really just important. A lot of women want to know, because with us alpha women being very assertive and doing so much, does it matter? Does the man need to love the woman more? Mrs. Berna. whoever got it.
Who you asking? You asking Michael, right? Oh, no, okay. So the answer is, in my estimation, the answer is yes. Absolutely.
And that's because you want to make a joke about it.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I mean, I could make a joke about it, but I won't, because I'm going to say something Michael said a minute ago. There's a biblical component to a marriage. And a husband is supposed to love a wife like Christ loved the church. And the church had Christ crucified.
Hello.
So, she can all but crucify me. Or actually, I guess she could crucify me if I'm doing this biblically entirely. And so, absolutely, there is a level of forgiveness that has to be associated with a husband-wife relationship that even if it's not reciprocated. I understand. I appreciate the word reciprocal, Michael. But the truth is, Michael, God looks to me and to you as head of this household to see how we're operating. He ain't looking to her to see, he is in his own right, but in terms of leading this house, we're the ones who have to be doing what's right. We're the ones who have to forgive and continue to forgive. Love is patient and kind, and everything else that Corinthians says about it. And so, absolutely, a man has to love his wife more than a wife loves her husband. That's my philosophy.
I love it.
General has spoken.
I believe, I agree 100%. I believe that the husband sets the precedent. The Bible says that let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence. And that word benevolence is used in the place of a euphemism, which means fulfill his duty. The duty of the husband is to set the precedent on how the wife is to love him. And if he is doing it according to the will of God, then there is a responsibility for the wife to reciprocate that will of God that she sees in her husband, and therefore God is pleased by what she is doing for her husband. So it has to be that word benevolence. It's to fulfill the duties of, and I believe that there's a certain love that my wife has for me that only she can give me, and there's a certain love I have for her that only I can give her. But when it's measured in the understanding of God's will for us to be together, then that love is insurmountable.
Wow. Pastor has spoken. That's how you know when you're in the presence of some real men, because then you shut up. You get me to shut up. You're doing something good. I want to ask you, thank y'all both for those very insightful responses. I'm learning so much and I'm getting full. And I'm thankful we never purposefully seek out people of faith, but God always sends people who are founded in faith for Fancy Friday. And that's really important because faith and hope is a major mitigator for people maintaining their mental health and wellness. So I just got a couple more questions before we have Donnie come back on and give us a quick break with a song. But for the Fords, was there ever a time that maybe you guys were on the brink of divorce, or share what was one of your biggest challenges in your marriage and how did you guys overcome it?
Well, we had many.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do not get to 25 without some problems along the way. So I actually was ready to go about a month in, but that was me being young and I'm like, this man is not working out for me. And I called home to my mother and I told her I wanted to come home. And she told me, I have not even finished paying for the wedding. And she did not ask me what was the problem. Because at that point, let's see, they had been married for 35 years. At that point. So she was not hearing any drama. 30 days, 35 days, and we've been married 35 years. She was like, nope, don't call me with any of this nonsense. So that was just like within the first month. But over time you have issues, and we've had a few, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, where we were like contemplating.
I probably can't count up to 6, but I can count a handful of times where it was hairy enough to where due consideration had been given. At least I had given due consideration to bouncing out. And part of it related to what I had been exposed to, frankly, as a child. I love my mom. I love my dad. I love, bless his soul, I love my stepdad. But my experience of longevity was truncated at year 10. And I looked at my parents as an example of probably what would happen, not what could happen. My parents divorced when I was 10 years old. And so I viewed an argument as ultimately leading to the possibility of divorce, irrespective of how serious the argument was. right? And so I didn't give, frankly, probably the first 10 years of our marriage, true, devotion from the longevity standpoint, because I was like, yeah, we cool right now, but my mom and them divorced at 10 years, so it could be over tomorrow as far as I know, right? And so I always try to like guard myself, guard my heart. And as a reminder, I came in as a single parent, and I just wanted to be certain that things are going to be straight, right? And so I had a guarded heart in that regard, which was unfair to my wife. And what I had to remember was 35 days in, she wanted to leave, but her parents had been married for 35 years. They've now been married over 50 some odd years, 60 years. And so the comparison was this: 10 years was when my parents divorced. Her parents were never going to divorce, ever. So Berna's perception of what an argument could lead to was not divorce.
You're going in the room with being mad.
Exactly. I mean, might not talk for a few minutes, an hour, or whatever, but it ain't gonna lead to divorce.
Right.
But mine was just the opposite. So there were a couple of occasions that arose that, yeah, I did give due consideration to it. And the one example I give and give you the mic back is, early on in our marriage, we were broke, and my wife was working on Capitol Hill. Great job. As a young person working on Capitol Hill, but she was a student, working on Capitol Hill. We had a kid, and we were broke. And I was like, I got to find a way to take care of my family. And there was one job in particular that I thought would have presented an opportunity for me to take care of my wife and my son, get us health care, and have no worries. And my wife was like, I don't want you to take that job. And that was a real argument.
And if you take the job.
And if you take it, I'm gonna leave. That's right. And that was a very real argument, because I was like, how can any woman not respect or expect her man to do whatever he's got to do to take care of her and her son? I just could not fathom how she would object to me subjecting myself to the sacrifice. Because, by the way, it was a sacrifice I was going to have to make in order to do this job that I was going to take.
And it was a very respectable job to be.
Absolutely was. And it would provide all kinds of opportunities, but she wasn't hearing it. And so we, around that same time, had the opportunity to travel to Ohio State, where I was interviewing for my PhD program. And I never forget, in the hills of West Virginia, she and I had determined that when we get back to DC, we filing for divorce. But God had a different plan, because I got to Ohio State, and that next day, during the interview for my PhD program, on the spot, they gave me admissions and a fellowship. So that let me know, clearly there's a different plan that God has in store for me right now, and it ain't that job that was going to lead us to a divorce. And that was a handful of years, 2-3 years into our relationship at that point, to our marriage at that point. So, it was that kind of conversation, that kind of experience that continued to build strength in me to know that this could be something 25 years down the road that I can look back on and be so happy for.
Oh, I love
That's
it.
a very powerful story. If y'all can answer this, because we're going to get to this break, but this is so good. And when we come back, we will talk more to LaDonna and Michael, but I still have a couple more questions for you two at the end. But I just want to ask you, speaking of that, because you're talking about your career and you get an interview for your PhD program, with both of you being very accomplished in your respective careers, and of course, having children, how did you balance that? Like, we often hear, like, Michelle was Barack's boss and, kind of supported him through his career. What did that look like for you two, as far as that ebbing and flowing and taking turns and being able to sustain, like, your marriage and your family?
Well, the good thing is, Aaron, so I don't know if he started out this way, but yeah, he was a single parent. So he was used to taking care of his children, or his child and then his children. And so we didn't really have to have fights about who's picking up the kids and who's gonna make dinner or who's gonna do this and that. It was always really a joint effort. For years, we shared our calendars because we'd say, okay, well, who has an early morning meeting? Then the other person has to take the kids to school. Who has late night meetings? Then the other person has to pick the kids up from school. So it's just always really been a partnership and a team effort in making sure that we work together in raising the kids and taking care of the house.
And one of the words that Michael used earlier, I'm going to steal for a second, is the trust factor as well, right? I've never thought Berna was competing with me. And she's never thought I'm competing with her. This ain't a competition. This is a collaboration. This is a coordination. And anything that my wife has ever wanted to do professionally, personally, or otherwise, I've endeavored to try to help her accomplish that. Period. Point blank. No questions asked. If it's your profession if you want to be a labor and employment lawyer, and that means that I'm going to have to take take a hiatus with something I want to do, we'll do that. We'll revisit what I want to do in retirement, for example. And that was a real conversation. Believe it. And comparably with my wife, she's supported me, been my spine when I lost my backbone in the midst of, for example, running for this office.
The pro alpha female, and that's why alpha female, they'll love alpha men, is because alpha men, they are not insecure. They want you to do your thing. They have your back. I love it. And I will share this for both you guys. First, you, General Ford. I remember when you said, hey, I'd only been home not even 24 hours, and I have the honey to-do list, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And I said, go ahead. I love it. Twitter, I love it. But just so you know, General Ford, for Berna, because she is an alpha female for sure. But the one thing about her is that the fact that she asks you for your opinion, because I'm like that with my husband. You're not going to ask a man or anybody for their opinion unless you trust their response and their opinion. And you go with whatever they say, even though you might not agree. You're like, okay, so not only just trust, but respect. And I feel like before alpha females get to that trust, we got to first respect you. Because if we respect you, oh, you good. Right. We might not agree with you, but we're going to say, okay, and we're going to bow down, and we're okay with being submissive because we trust and we respect you.
That's it. Donnie, are you ready for us to bring us back in with some good music?
I am ready. All right, let's do it. Like craters on the moon, your love has made its mark. When you crashed into my heart, you hit me like a shooting star. I'm crazy over you. Can't you see it in the sparks? Shines brightly in the dark. Yeah, the universe knows who we are. I can't get away from you. Can't keep me away from you. We belong together like craters on the moon. Like craters on the moon.
Be from Mars, somewhere beyond the sky. When I'm with you, I can fly high. Just one look into your eyes, I can see the stars. I can see the stars blazing like a fire. Beautiful, inspired eyes, me to be right where you are. I can't get away from you. Can't keep me away from you.
together like craters on like craters on the moon. I can't get away from you. No. Can't keep me away from you. We belong together like craters on the moon. Like craters on the moon. Hey. Oh. I can see the stars in you. I can see the stars in you. Oh, I can see the stars in you. I can see the stars in you. Oh, I can see the stars in you. When we're, I can see the stars in you. I can see the stars in you. Yeah. Can't get away. You're my shooting star. The universe knows the vibe within our heart. There's no more craters on the moon.
I love that song.
Beautiful.
What is your favorite love song? Charles, what's your favorite love song?
There's a ribbon in the sky for our love.
What about you, Trinity Marie?
Are you alpha or beta?
What about who?
Are you alpha or beta male? I'm just
I'm alpha all day. I'm unbearably alpha.
You know what? I don't know if I have a favorite song, but I have a favorite movies, and there's two of them. The Notebook,
I love that one.
because they were both they both fought, but they made it work until the end. They even died together.
Who is
Sorry.
this? What book is that? I mean,
Oh, it's called The Notebook. I
Oh,
don't
a
know.
notebook.
oh,
Notebook, and then the other one is 50 Dates. Is it 51st Dates?
oh, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's
Is that yours too? Do you like-
no, but I like it though.
Be like, nah, ain't that soft.
I'm alpha. Did you hear me tell you that? I was alpha male.
That's why I was like, oh, what I think.
Yeah, American me. That's what I'm talking about. No.
What is for the fours? What's y'all favorite love song?
He said, I better get it right. I hope I get it right. Sweet Love, is that supposed to be
And
it?
tell them why.
Because he claims I sang this song.
It ain't no
to him.
claim. You can ask everybody in attendance.
On the first night we met.
On the
But
first
I was
night we
singing
met.
To you.
To me, I said, sang to me, and she sang Sweet Love. That's what happened.
First night, okay.
Anita Baker. Anita Baker.
Yes, absolutely. So that was our first song we sang. We danced to on our wedding too. So
The young folks don't know nothing about that. The young people don't know
no,
nothing.
they don't know about that.
Now you were starting to sing it.
Go ahead, Donnie, sing that one. Can we make a request?
Yes, sir.
She still got it too.
For the Harrisons, what's y'all favorite love song?
From Rochelle Farrell and Will Downing, Nothing Has Ever Felt Like This.
Yeah,
That's nice. Yeah.
that's a good one. I'm excited for you two to be here. Of obviously, you have Married and Powerful, where you coach. I want to know where that name came from for your business. Why did you guys decide to name it that?
You trying to mute?
The reason why we went with Married and Powerful is because, well, obviously we're married, but powerful in the sense of both mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. Michael is a fitness trainer. And so that kind of all played into it. And so that's where it came from.
I would love it.
Now, with you two coaching together, and of course, you're working together and having a family, what is it like and how do you balance, right, keeping business separate from relationship?
I want to say, as far as the business side, we work well together because I look at Michael as the talent and I'm the agent. And so I handle all the back office paperwork, emails, all the technical things. He shows up, and because I handle all that stuff, he's free and able to just perform. And whether it comes into counseling, preaching, training, any of that, he's able to just do what he needs to do. And then I'm on the backside making sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted.
Which you enjoy that part. Because
I
that's
do.
how I first met you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Nice.
So what would you guys say is the secret to a successful marriage or relationship?
I would say the secret is never forgetting your past, but don't let your past be the perspective of your future.
Mm.
We were talking previously, and we had been married before, and there were a lot of things that we ascertained in those relationships, and we were able to, because of our self-character, we were able to differentiate between what we want to keep and what we want to let go.
Mm.
And so you have to be honest with yourself that when you embrace someone else, you have to make sure that the selfish side of you is not proceeding, that now that selfishness becomes the determining factor of your present relationship.
Mm.
And so to be unselfish is when you get the best of the other person.
Ooh.
And I feel that because we are both unselfish, but we know how to be selfish when it comes to each other, fighting for each other.
Yes.
And so with that, to me, that's the secret. And then to authenticate that to each other, that now that trust factor, you never have to worry about what's going on when you're not present.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Trust. Do you think that broken trust can be repaired?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It all depends on the severity of what was the reason for that to first come into existence.
Mm.
It all depends, because you have your pet peeves and you have those things that you will not do. You're stern on it. And then there are those things that are not so demeaning or important. And so it all depends. We have the thing that we established from the beginning was to not lie to each other. I mean, to be upfront. I mean, to share everything and to have that open door policy where nothing is off limits. Nothing is off limits. Our secrets are not off limits. I mean, everything is on the table for us to describe how it is or what we want from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, that plays the important factor in the whole thing is being able to trust each other enough that you don't have to worry about what's going on when you're not present.
And it wasn't something that just happened overnight. This took time to develop. And I mean, you don't just walk in and just automatically trust. You throw out little feelers and little testers. And then once, each other has passed those little tests, then like, oh, okay, well, I can trust him with my thoughts and different things. And so it grows. It grows with time.
And also too, it's knowing what you want. When we came together, I said, yes, let's get married. In the first week or the first date.
The first week. Yes.
Because I knew what I wanted. And this is no disrespect to my exes. I knew what I had. And so, and knowing now, you can really differentiate between what it is you want and what it is you won't settle for. So seeing that, I mean, if I was Stevie Wonder and I met LaDonna, to me, she was the one. And I'm saying in the sense of not being able to see her. But I knew she was the one from her demeanor of speech, from her application of being able to speak profoundly on certain topics. It's just a plethora of things. But the most important thing is that I knew what I wanted.
You had a checklist.
I sure did. Like you, Mr. Ford, I had a checklist. I had a list of 10.
Yeah.
It was the first was having God to be the reason of her existence. The next was being baptized, being filled with the Holy Ghost. And the next was being good at sex. That was number 3,
Let's
being
not
good at
leave
sex.
that last part out. Sorry, I'm gonna be the one to say it.
Well,
Sorry.
yeah. So, I was gonna ask if I could add something to the conversation, but bro, why you gotta leave it with? I mean, come on, how am I supposed to say something profound after that? Listen, I think ditto what he said about trust and whatnot. Look, I think in 25 years of marriage, we violated one another's trust. Let's be clear, and it probably will happen in the next 25 years. I don't mean to minimize the word I've used in talking to children about the importance of being resilient and bouncing back, but that's exactly what it takes for a marriage to last, in my mind. Being resilient, bouncing back, recognizing that we have faults as much as we try hard, as much as we love each other, we will absolutely make mistakes, absolutely do things that are annoying, that cross the line, that violate rules. Sometimes it's on purpose, frankly, in the midst of trying to hurt one another, in the midst of whatever is going on, right? I mean, that's just very real. And we gotta think about that. But in my mind, and I'm gonna go back to something I referenced a little while ago about the secret, like talk about the secret, right? There is a secret, and it goes back to what my role is as a husband in a marriage. And it goes back to what I said a minute ago about loving my wife like Christ loved the church, meaning never giving up on her in this marriage, irrespective of the level of sensitivity I may have because I feel like I'm disrespected, or frankly, even if I've hurt her so bad to where she wants to bounce. I'm going to put in the work to try to keep her here, period, point blank, because again, it's my responsibility. And I just want to go back to 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4-8, which tells you, again, you're supposed to love your wife like Christ loves the church. What does love mean? Well, it defines it for you right here. Love is patient, it's kind, it doesn't envy, it doesn't boast, it's not proud, ain't too proud to beg, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs, meaning I'm supposed to forgive you. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, and here's the key for me, it always perseveres.
And see, the sad part, and all that you said is perfect. The sad part on the reality side, as far as humans, is that they don't see that, they see it as fictitious words. They don't see it as heartfelt, meaningful words. And therefore, in order to love, you have to accompany sacrifice. And some people's sacrifices aren't meaningful enough to make it make sense to be with someone. It's only meaningful enough that it makes sense that I'm getting what I want out of this. And if you don't get yours, then I'm gone.
Let me ask you this then.
Pardon me?
How important then is a relationship with God or faith in being able to sustain a healthy relationship?
And I like to add to that question because Attorney General is out here quoting script. And so when we're involved in the scripture, it inspires me to ask the question in terms of marriage. What is the role? So the concept of Christ loving the church is bent on the concept of love has different meanings in the Greek, right? We have one word for love in the English, but one of the words is agape, which means I love you no matter what, which is equivalent to unconditional love. So can you guys talk about faith in Denisha's question, right? And the role of unconditional love in a marriage?
Well, I would first the unconditional love is, it's a sacrifice love. And no one earthly can sacrifice for another person the way that Christ did. And the reason why I say that is because Christ is the totality of love. To sacrifice for another person is an individual perspective toward that person. And so For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever should believe on him should not perish, but have everlasting life. That love is action. That love is a precept to what is to become. And Christ has let us to be able to see what is, what's going to become, and what's hereafter. Well, we can't do that in everyday life. The only way that we can have an understanding to even come close to that is to emulate the love that Christ has for the church. And that love for the church, he says he's coming back for a church without spot or wrinkle. We have to understand that we are spotless. I mean, not spotless, we have spots. And those spots are our sinful nature. And so therefore, to love, I wrote a book, it's called The Four Powers in Marriage. It's you, money, sex, and manipulation. Somebody said to me, isn't love a power? It is not a power. It is something you give unconditionally to another person without expectations to have your needs or desires met. But we being earthly, we have expectations. And when they are not met, that's why we do have arguments. That's why there are divorces and things of like. Mm-hmm. And so it's I guess to put it in a nutshell is the Christ-like love is to a point where we aspire to attain. But you have to let go of the flesh to even think that you can love somebody the way that Christ said so.
Yeah, listen, I agree with that 100%. It's an aspirational approach to how you're supposed to have a relationship with your wife. And see, yeah. Listen, I'm not a pastor. I'm not a preacher. I don't pretend to be one. I am speaking to you from what has girded me over 25 years. And most recently over the last, since our last, big, issue, right? Mm-hmm. And talking to my pastor and learning from him certain scriptures that can help me get to my next level. Mm-hmm. And all I need to know is what I've said to you already, CW, and that is I'm supposed to love my wife like Christ loved the church, and the definition of love is found in Corinthians 13:4-8. And as much as I'm in my flesh when it comes to being self-seeking or being boastful or keeping records of wrongs, I aspire not to do that, especially with my wife. And that's how I know that this last part about always persevering is going to happen in this marriage, because I'm not going to have it any other way. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do as head of this house under the terms of the Bible as it gives me instruction.
But I will say that Michael and Aaron are talking like big talk, but it is not easy. It is very hard Absolutely. To do. Oh, no. And so a lot of people, yes, they're when things are going great, they're all in. But when things start to go bad, it's tough. And it takes, I've probably been the one walking out the door more than he's been walking out the door, but he always pulls us back together. But it's not easy. And I don't want people to watch this and say, oh, it was so easy for them, but it's hard for me. So I'm going to be out because I can't do this. I don't know how to do it. It's not as easy as they're making it sound.
No, let's be clear. I'm not making it sound either. I have acknowledged that we have gone through situations that could have led to a separation. That ain't easy. And at the end of the day, you have to work hard, absolutely, and you have to overcome yourself, like Pastor Harris said, recognize that you living in the flesh, and this definition of love is diametrically opposed to how you want to exist.
And see, but we have to, can I just say one thing? Please. We have to set the precedent that it is easy because of Christ. It is easy. All things, what do you say? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. He didn't say all the bad things. He's talking about your servitude toward your relationship or in your relationship with God.
And you know what?
Earthly is as hard. Earthly it is. But having that relationship with God, it makes it easier while being earthly to aspire to attain what God gave man and woman together to be and for.
Well, you know what? I think that, and that's why platforms like this is so important, because oftentimes we see people dealing with mental illness and or other issues because they're going off scripture, but they don't have the practical tools. Whether it's easy or whether it's hard, right? It's how do I walk this? How do I apply what this says? And so we know that love is all these things, and those are the actions. But how do I make this show up in my life when it is hard, when it is difficult? What are the balancing factors? And so I want to begin to wrap this show up with some tips for the listeners, right? How do we keep our marriages healthy? How do we make sure we're persevering in some of those times? And being a crisis response worker, I'm always talking about the things that you got to do daily, because those become your default when crisis and stress arise. So there are some practical things that you do in your life, in your marriage or your relationship, that helps that. And you guys have mentioned that, right? Having established trust so that when things get difficult, I'm not immediately walking out the door. That allows for that resiliency to show up. And so can Michael and LaDonna give us 3 tips that you always share with couples to keep your marriage healthy?
I would say first and foremost is communication. And we hear that all the time, you know, it's always good to communicate, but I mean like real, truthful, like down home communication. One of the reasons why we don't have a lot of arguments is because we talked about these things ahead of time. What are your pet peeves? What started that pet peeve? Like understanding where it came from helps me remember, okay, don't do this because that will cause a trigger, and this is where the trigger came from. So when you have deep conversations, like go deeper, like, okay, what started that? Where did that come from? Where, like you go deep into finding out everything. And so that communication is really, really important. Not just surface, but that deep, solid communication is definitely, I would say, first and foremost, the first thing on that list of 3.
I would say the other thought is lean not into thine own understanding. Don't use your understanding to now manipulate or coerce someone into a position where they're uncomfortable or where they're not sure they want to be, whether it be spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. And so look out for each other in that perspective. And the other one, of course, is that word again, we always hang on, is trust. You have to trust each other. And in order to trust each other, you have to know each other. And if you're not talking to each other, then you don't have trust because you don't know each other and you don't know what the expectations are in that relationship to have some kind of reciprocation to now be able to authenticate why we should be together.
Mm-hmm. I would like to say a 4th one would be don't judge.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Speaking of judgment, that's always a sensitive issue when people are dealing with mental health issues. And I don't want to say mental illness, because mental illness means that there's necessarily something severe. Sometimes there is, but sometimes we just have episodes or symptoms or phases due to something that occurs. If a person finds themselves with a partner who either has an onset of a mental health issue or may have been predisposed, already had it, rather is already there and they didn't know, but now they find themselves dealing with someone who may have mental health issues, what advice would you give that person to support their partner?
I would say to pay attention and to address it as it appears, and to address it, not self-analyze, but to address it to get the necessary help from the entities that would be able to render such help. That's the most important thing. I mean, we can self-diagnose ourselves or other people, but if we don't know anything about that, then now we're just going off the backbone of what we think. Mm-hmm. But when it's recognized, you got to do your research to know what it is, and then now move in the perspective of getting that person the proper help. Yeah.
Yeah. So this conversation is so good. Oh, go ahead.
Good.
And this is just off the first principle that LaDonna shared, communication. The Bible says that we're living epistles.
Yeah.
And so we're always growing, right? And growing after God. And I recognize that sometimes we don't grow alike. Our chapters may look different. Is there anything specific in your communication? And this is for both couples. Is there anything specific in your communication that you do to support each other when your chapters aren't aligned?
Well, for LaDonna and I, and I'm not saying this to bloviate by no means, but I would say it's just listening. And as Mr. Ford said earlier, it's alluded to, it's listening, it's paying attention, and it's not being dominant over the other, over the one, but being comfortable with your inadequacies as well as your strengths, and using those as a form of shelter in each other to go forward in the common goal of understanding.
So one thing I would say in terms of communication when you're not aligned is, you know, there's going to be some times when I'm not feeling like I'm running on all cylinders. It's his job to notice that if I don't say it, and sometimes I will say it, but sometimes you're in a position where you can't say it, and your partner, your spouse needs to be in tune enough with you to know that, to see that, to ask, how was your day? How can I help you? What can I do to, you know, make it better? And there's not always something they can do to make it better. And sometimes you don't even want them to ask you, what can you do to make it better? But they have to be in tune with that and know it. And I think one of the most critical things is, say one of us is not where we want to be professionally. Like that's a really big, not like I just had a bad day at work today. Like we're not where we want to be. This is where it comes down to, we're not working against each other, we're working with each other, and we really have to find ways to support each other. One of the things that we said when we first met back in college is we will never stop each other from achieving their dreams. And so we've always done what we could to support that person. And that has meant moving around the country, you know, taking jobs sometimes that we don't necessarily want because the other person got the dream, you know, job of a lifetime. So it's just really making sure you're talking, communicating, and knowing what is going to make the other happy so that the whole team can be happy.
And then one thing to append to that, don't miscue or don't have your person think they're miscuing by you denying the fact that in fact they hit on something, right? If there's a problem and I've been able to pick up on something going on, don't say nothing. When I say what's wrong, don't say nothing. But because at that point, then maybe my observation techniques are off. And so next time I think something's wrong, I'm not going to ask because I thought something was wrong when she acted like this last time and she said nothing was wrong. So, and then you don't ask and then she gets upset because you didn't ask, right? So and we learned this in church in Ohio, moving around the country again, in this instance for me, for school. That was 20 years ago. So don't have me miscue. If I'm right, let me know. And if you say you don't want to talk about it, there's something different, but at least acknowledge that in fact you picked up on something, Aaron, and then, you know, that's part of the communication going both ways.
And that's beautiful advice. I think communication is important, like in any situation. I would say, especially in relationship. I do have a question though, in the line of kind of where we're going. Have either of you as couples been through like marriage therapy or marriage counseling? And if so, or if not, what are your views about it?
So the answer is yes. I got to get this chicken out the oven though. So hold on one second. I'm gonna let Brenda keep talking.
Well, then let them answer.
Yeah, your answer. But I just want to tell you the answer is yes. I didn't want you to think I was running off because you asked that question.
As a couple, Michael and I have not been in counseling ourselves. We haven't actually had the need to, but he is a relationship counselor, and so I'll let you talk about that.
We haven't. And it's there again. I mean, not to be redundant, but it's the level of communication and the authenticity of which you would communicate by or for. And so a lot of people couples that I've counseled with, they come because they have unresolved issues. Or they come because somebody's not listening. They come because somebody is doing what the mother said, in-laws become outlaw kind of perspective. They're doing things outside of the house to try to bring peace inside the house. So you have other people in your relationship, in your home, in your bed, in your head, and you're not listening to your husband or wife. And so I look at all of that and I address it as it appears. And it's just interesting, the little pet peeves that come up in relationship counseling, and everybody's going through the same thing. And the conclusion is one conclusion. The conclusion is stop doing it yourself, trying to control and manipulate someone else in the relationship. Allow each other to be who they are, and you try to grasp the concept to be able to get along with who they are, and they get along with who you are. When I first came to Las Vegas, there was a couple that I met, and they were in their 70s at the time. And they had been married for like 50 something years or something to that degree. And I asked them, I said, what is your secret? And she says, she's looking at me with a smile. She says, I let him be him. And then he looked at me and he said, I let her be her. And we meet in the middle of each other.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
For
So is that summary to say that you believe in marriage therapy?
he does it.
Oh, well, yeah, because I believe in marriage counseling because partly it pays the bills. But yes, I believe in marriage counseling because the counselor is supposed to help you understand where the problem is without making you be the problem.
There you go.
And I just have one more question after the Ford's answer, because y'all know this is too good. So I want to hear what your perspective is.
So the question was, have you been to counseling? Was that?
Yes, and do you believe in
And what's your perspective about it, right? So
The answer is yes, we've been to counseling, and premarital, during marriage, and probably in the future, we will go to counseling again. And the reason why is because it's important. And I do believe in it. I think, look, what Pastor Harris said about the purpose is to help you figure out the problem without you being the problem. I mean, I wish that were the case all the times, because sometimes you are the problem. And sometimes you need a counselor to tell you, you're the problem. And because I'm hearing from her, I'm the problem, and I'm like, you always say I'm the problem, and I'm just making this up, right? But that could be the contention, right? Everything you think I do is bad, everything. I'm horrible. I'm a bad husband. I'm a bad man, and everything she says is an attack to me, and I'm making this up again because this ain't real life. But so I'm not hearing her when she says you the problem. But maybe a third party arbitrator sitting in here listening to the issues can actually tell you, actually on this one, homeboy, you the problem. And you're not living up to what you say you want to live up to. I keep talking about Corinthians and how I want to emulate God's love. And if I'm not doing it because I'm being self-serving, or I'm keeping a list and checking it twice, then I need to be told that. And counseling can sometimes help in that.
Yeah, when I mean being the problem, I mean that first, yes, what's the AAA, you have to realize that you are the problem. I understand that. But to realize you are the problem, if it's how the counselor brings it out. If he goes and attacks somebody, then, I mean, I've had people, in fact, I've told people to leave my office because they were not listening. And he was saying, well, you're saying I'm the problem. No, I didn't say that. There is a problem, but it's not always necessary because there's a problem that it's you. And if it is you, then it won't be a problem after we leave this session. So I'm speaking to the pretense of it being better as opposed to it getting heated and I'm kicking somebody out.
And I think the beautiful thing is having two couples here who are happy and healthy and in love, and having our different perspectives on how we see it. And I definitely didn't see that as a either or. I definitely saw that as sometimes it is it and sometimes it's not. And I can empathize with you, Michael, coming from being a mental health professional, that yes, we have to approach our clients in a way that they don't feel judged, so that they're receptive to resolve the issue. So in lieu of celebrating, right, 25 years of marriage, and in lieu of having married and powerful couples and coaches on here and faith-based people, I just want to ask y'all, what do you do to keep the spark?
Oh, yes. Please do share.
Well,
we want the real.
Don't be shy now.
well, first thing,
I'm married. The bed is undefiled.
That is absolutely right. And the first thing is, how much important is sexual relations in your marriage.
It's super important. Sorry.
And so your creativity and your spontaneity is inside of that, which now rejuvenates everything inside to be a better relationship, to be a better person, because you're committed to someone to fulfill those things. Now, the other part is communication. And so therefore, if you find the main thing, then articulate that main thing to make each other comfortable and to energize each other. So I would say the key word or component is to always remember to energize the inner person, not using things outside of yourselves, but using the things, your creativity within yourself. And as long as you do that, and you're touching on those areas that are most important, then you're going to have the best of what is, and you will have the best sexual encounter of your life. And in my book, I said, the best orgasm is the one you never have physically. It's the one you have mentally.
Give us the title of that book again.
Four powers of marriage.
Mental orgasms.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna make sure we share your book with the viewers, as well as all of your social media handles, so they can reach out to you and get the guidance and the coaching, the relationship expertise that you have. And so we thank you so much. Now, for the fours, how do y'all keep the spark?
Well, so
We ain't gonna talk about what Harris talking about. That's all I'm saying. The best you get is a ditto, but that's about all, bro.
so things that we do, I mean, we really just look out for each other. And I know that's very general, but we try to have date night. We used to try to do it once a week, but then schedules kind of got crazy. But we absolutely make time for each other. During the pandemic, we now have coffee together in the morning. And, some people might say, how's that keeping a spark? But, you just have to have time to talk to each other. And you don't want to get to the point where you're not talking. You're so busy that you're just ships passing in the night. And so for us, just sitting down and being able to talk to each other is actually amazing, because we don't always have time to sit and talk to each other. So taking that time is important. Having date night is important. What else? I don't know.
Yeah, no, all of that's hitting the nail on the head. Look, I know a handful of folks who divorce after they're empty nesters because they learned that they don't know each other anymore. They spent 18 years, 27 years, whatever the case may be. I guess in our case, it would have been 29 years or so, dealing with your kids and giving up time and work, but you don't know each other anymore. And so we make it a point to take time. We used to do date night, like she said, once a week, but we've been able to substitute and do other things. The coffee in the morning thing is a big deal. She don't even drink coffee, so she'll come down and have some tea, right? And so, it's that kind of stuff. Recognizing the importance of intimacy, I think is real. And that's very important. Now, my father-in-law didn't tell me this, but he told one of my brothers-in-law that you're going to fight over a lot of stuff. The main three would be money, kids, and sex. And recognizing that those are some of the main challenges. Trying to ensure that you work around those in a way that accommodates you and helps to keep you interested in one another. So I think those are some good tips
I think you guys get on. Research says that and I'm on my second and final marriage. Me and my husband both been married before, but we've had our conversation very on too, so we're on the same page and we're not wasting anybody's time, and I'm so happy. But they say the top 3 reasons why people get a divorce is communications, finance, and sex. Top 3 reasons why people get a divorce. So that communication is huge, because I think that communication helps you with the financial situation and also helps you with the sexual situation as well. So yeah, you guys, I love you guys both. I think you guys are awesome as couples, and definitely couple goals, hashtag couple goals. For sure.
Relationship goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are so many more questions that I have that I want to ask, but time has gotten the best of us and we are so full. If you guys can hang around for just 2 more minutes, we don't want to forget the reason why we are here. We want to share that. And then I just have, as we close out, one question for each of you that's only going to require a single word answer. Okay.
Will you donate? I'm sorry. No, that's not her question.
This is you.
Thank
this
you.
is for you, Mr. Whitney.
Oh, okay. That's my question. I got a yes from the preacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will you all right. This is my job. My role in co-hosting is that my job is fundraising. So for everyone who's watching today, thank you so much. I want to thank Michael and LaDonna and Attorney General and his wife. Like, you guys, listen, you guys have presented so much light into the area of relationship and marriage. And thank you so much for your experience, your wisdom, the jokes also. You guys are funny. But it's good to see couples laugh together. I think that's an important thing. But my role is to get the money out the pockets. So Solutions of Change, for those who don't know, part of what we do for the webinar is we are raising money for the nonprofit. The reason why I asked about therapy in terms of marriage is also, I think that, first of all, in the faith community, specifically in the Black faith community, you don't hear a lot of conversation around therapy in general. And then to take it to the next level based off of the context of the conversation is marriage therapy. So I appreciate you all sharing, your experience of actually having it when you have and supporting it as you do. And so there possibly are people who are in a situation where they need therapy. They need marital therapy. They need personal therapy before they get the marital therapy, right? And or both, right? And so, and there are people who can't afford to do so. It's an expensive venture to get therapy, to get the mental health help that you need. So we are asking for donations. Denisha, can you put up the screen for how to give? There are 2 ways to give. You can give through Cash App, or you can give through PayPal. And the Cash App hashtag is Solutions of Change with the cash $ in front of it. And then the PayPal is solutionsofchange@gmail.com. If you guys can see that, it's right on the screen. Once again, PayPal, solutionsofchange@gmail.com. And then Cash App is #Solutions of Change. Listen, any amount that is given is appreciated and will be used for the good of someone who needs the services. I don't care if you can only give $5 or you can give $5,000. Whatever that donation you can give is greatly appreciated. We are doing this. One of the reasons and the motivations behind this is we do want to make sure that these sessions become applicable, right? So a person may listen and say, hey, what these people had to say was great. I need to further entertain those pathways. And how do I do so? Well, therapy is a good way to do so. And once again, people may not have the resources to do that. And so if you can give anything is appreciated. Once again, that is PayPal, solutionsofchange@gmail.com, or you can give using Cash App, #Solutions of Change. Thank you guys so much for your donation in time and wisdom. And we thank all those who will give their money as well. Thank you.
And Solutions of Change does provide free counseling and therapy for those without insurance, underinsured, including undocumented. So if you or a loved one is struggling, make sure you reach out to us at 702-848-1696. We've been pretty blessed to service some people in the new year. And I know, Charles, you were looking for those testimonials. So we're going to have those for y'all in March. Donnie, cue up to take us home. I want to thank again General Ford and Mrs. Rose Ford for joining us, as well as Married and Powerful LaDonna and Michael Harris. This has been an excellent show. I know so many people are going to be blessed, you guys. Also, we want to thank Andrea Edmond, who has donated us 4 copies of her book, The Single Heart Matters, and workbooks for those young single women, alpha women, maybe some like me, who are looking to be married and want some additional support. This has been a very full show. I told y'all I just had one more question to ask you, and I'm going to do this as I share your respective photos. So the question for you, look at that love, look at that, look at that, look at that. So my question for you, Fords, is how would you define in one single word your love?
One each?
Do y'all need to?
No, we don't need to. Go ahead, give a word.
Blessed.
Good word.
Amen. Thank you. And then we got another amazing couple here with a beautiful photo of their love, Mr.
I see the gun showing in the photo. Let me listen, Pastor Buff.
Pastor Buff.
He's showing out.
He got the shirt and the headlock.
And I apologize. I was trying to get the picture bigger.
You don't need to make the picture bigger.
No,
biceps will poke our eyes out if you make the picture bigger.
I would have to say, I would have to say that the word that I used when LaDonna and I first came together is that, to me, it was refreshing. It was, for all of these years, trying to find LaDonna. And I'm parched. I'm thirsty. I mean, I'm messed up right now. And then when I saw
one word, Pastor, one word. Now you make
oh, that's right. That's right.
blessed, highly favored. Love does not envy. Love ain't kind. Whatever. Now you got me going all crazy. Pastor.
Listen,
one word.
Hey, Attorney General, you know, pastors don't know how to use one word. You know,
I told myself, I said, boy, we had it in for us trying to moderate with all these strong personalities with so much knowledge.
It's
how am I
refreshing.
going to cut this?
So his part is
Refreshing, dear.
There we go.
Refreshing.
But I like where you was going. You're gonna have a good evening tonight, because
I was looking for a glass of water. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
a wise man. He don't care about what's going on with us. He gotta go. He gotta get off the Zoom in a minute.
You gotta make sure he have a good Valentine's.
Right. That's right.
Okay. Thanks for joining us for the Fancy Friday Valentine's special. We hope that you all have a wonderful and blessed, not just month, not just week, not just holiday, but life. Reach out to Solutions to Change if you need help, and we will make sure we send out information for you to be able to contact the Attorney General's office as well if you have questions or need support in any legal matters, and we'll make sure we share LaDonna and Michael's information as well if you need some relationship coaching. Thank y'all again. Have a wonderful and blessed night.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
I wanna love you, love and treat you right. I wanna love you every day and every night. We'll be together with the roof over our heads. We'll share the shelter of my single bed. Is this love? Is this love? Is this love? Is this love that I'm feeling? Yeah. Oh, is this love? Is this love? Is this love? Is this love that I'm feeling? willing and able. Oh, yes, I am. So I lay my cards on the table. Oh, oh.
I wanna love you, love and treat you right. I wanna love you every day and every night. We'll be together with a roof over our head. We'll share shelter. Love my single bed. Is this love? Is this love? Is this love? Is this love that I'm feeling?